it's the competition I want to win, you know, because the Olympics are everything to people such as myself.
So, I mean, in the event you finish off with, I know that if it was run on your own, you might find it an interesting one, the 1500 metres. But I know at the end of the decathlon, it is the most grueling test of all. So interestingly enough, I wonder if there's any reason like that you chose a 1500 metre race, the 1972 Olympic Games, Vasala against Kaino. Is it because you'd like to be a 1500 metre runner?
Not really. I mean, I'd love to be a 1500 metre runner because in this country we tend to those middle distance runners tend to get a lot of the applause, and you know, it would be nice to have been able to test myself, you know, on even terms with some of the boys, you know, given that I was as good at decathlon, good at 1500 as I am at decathlon. But the 1500 in Munich was an incredible race. I think I was 13 or 14 at the time, and I don't really remember very much about the athletics competition at all because I think I was a bit young. But I just remember this Finnish man coming off the last turn and running it, the last 150, like it was a 150 and not the end of a 1500 metre race. And I had heard of Kip Keino before. I heard that he was the greatest. And I just saw this blonde guy take him.
The champion, Keino leads. Vasala the Finn next. Still Foster third, but he's overtaken now by this ever-improving New Zealander Dixon. Boyd is in 5th place. They go through the three-quarter stage, and what a kick in the speed there. They've really brought the speed down on that lap, as Keino had to do, but he hasn't got away yet. Boyd moving up now into 3rd place. So Kenya 1st and 3rd as they come in now to the final 200 metres of this, the 1500 metre Olympic Championship. And Keino, the champion, looks anxiously back, and the man he fears most is still living with him. Vasala now, gathering himself to come off the curb. Keino's anxiety is growing as Vasala comes on the outside. Keino responds, and the champion's not going to die easily, but Vasala seems to have the speed. And Vasala comes home for another gold medal for Finland. The champion in 2nd place, Keino. Dixon 3rd for New Zealand. Boyd 4th.
The 1988 Olympics in Seoul, I know that you found particular interest in the way the shot put was concluded. Yeah,
well, again, field events are always very difficult because it's always sort of peaks and troughs, and you know, you have one good throw or you have a couple of bad ones, and your mental frame of mind is always changing. Just, you know, split seconds for no real reason. Like, you feel good before you get in the circle and you don't feel so good when you're in it. And it's a real roller coaster. And I thought that that Timmerman, he'd been leading for 5 of the rounds, and into the last round, Randy Barnes came in and threw exceptionally well and took the lead. And Timmerman had already taken off all his wraps and bandages off his knees and had his tracksuit on and was almost about to get onto the rostrum.
What must be going through Ulf Timmerman's mind? He's the last thrower in the competition. He was in gold medal position right the way through. We've had the Olympic record broken 10 times, and incidentally that last throw by Barnes was yet another. The last throw, he's in silver medal position. Oh, he got behind it. Oh, and it might be enough. And has it all happened in the last round? Well, it's going to be close. Very close. 22 metres and 47. He's done it on the very last throw of this competition.
Talking about your own performance in Seoul, not many people know that, but on the warm-up track, just before the thing started, you had a test out over 50 metres because you hurt a hamstring, and you were at that point literally half an hour before the event started, and you were maybe going to either pull out and go home or not compete at all. So you were really on the brink there physically. I mean, was it a wise decision to go on?
I think so, because I almost did it. You know, it was pretty close. I mean, the silver and the bronze weren't very far in front of me, and you know, again, I think if I hadn't done it, I'd always be saying to myself, "What if?" And I'd rather come 4th, 5th, 6th, or whatever, and know what I could have done than be at home saying, one of those people that always, you know, you meet them everywhere, and they always say, "I could have done this and could have done that." You know, I never want to be sort of known as.
Well, like you just told me you could have fought Tyson.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm sure I'd last longer than Michael Spinks, and I'd only cost half the money, you know.
Daly, one of my great rivals was Lasse Viren, and he won 4 Olympic titles. And when we talked about your selection of all-time great performances to put in this little cassette, you said to me, Viren. Well, I obviously guessed it was going to be his 76 Olympics when he won the 5,000 metres, but once again, you surprised me with your choice.
Well, again, you know, Brent, he won the 2 in 72, won 5 in the 10 again in 76, and it's because when he was running well, he was the best in the world. You know, even if it was just for those 10 days or whatever. When he was actually there in the Olympic competition, he was the greatest. And yet, coming into Moscow, he had very bad form, and even running in the heats in Moscow, he wasn't in great shape. I mean, he barely made it through to the final because John Tracy dropped out with dehydration, and was obviously had no right to be in the final. But with 600 or 400 metres to go in the final itself, the man had taken the lead.
Viren looks back again. Yipta second. Kotu third. He's the outsider of the 3 Ethiopians in many ways, but he looks frisky as well. And there's Kadir going through. Viren looks back, and there's no way he can shake them off. So they build up now for the bell and the last lap. Brendan Foster, incidentally, has passed Mike McLeod, but they're about half a lap behind the leaders. Well, it's all about courage and fight and speed now on the last lap. Kadir leads for Ethiopia. Viren of Finland in second place. Yipta Ethiopia third. Kotu Ethiopia 4. Maninka of Finland 5. Maninka goes up on the outside, trying to block Kotu, and there goes Yipta the shifter. That's why they call him the shifter. But his break is not decisive, and Viren is not going to retain the title. Maninka is coming to make the finish challenge, and Viren's challenge has evaporated. But the Olympic gold medalist looks certain to be Yipta the shifter from Ethiopia. He really is flying. The power is there, and he has done what we expected, destroyed them on the last lap. Maninka comes into second place, Kadir is third, Kotu 4, but the Olympic champion surely must be 37 years old, Myra Shifter of Ethiopia. He takes the gold. Maninka the silver for Finland. Kadir the bronze for Ethiopia. Kotu is fourth for Ethiopia. Viren the champion in fifth place, run a champion's race.
One of the things that fascinates me is when I hear people like you talking about field events, and your next choice is the women's javelin in Helsinki in the World Championships. When it came to the last throw of the event,
yeah.
Tina Lielak in Finland, they hadn't won a gold medal all day. Fatima Whitbread was in the lead. I mean, tell us how someone like Tina Lielak would feel standing on the runway with all of that. Is that enormous pressure, or in your terms, is that easy?
Well, for me, you see, it would have been a great moment, because I've never had the opportunity to perform in front of 80,000 screaming English people. But there she was, standing at the end of the runway in front of a home crowd, and they loved the javelin. I mean, you know yourself, when you go to Finland and you're in a middle distance race, it's fun, everybody has a good time, but as soon as the javelin comes on, it's as if it's the only thing in the stadium, and they scream and shout. And yet there she was, you know, they were expecting her to win. She was world record holder at the time, and she was lying in second or third, I'm not sure. And for me, that would have been an incredible time. It would have been the time I look forward to, because that's what training is all about, is to be able to reproduce certain techniques under pressure, like when you're tired and all that kind of stuff. And I assume that, you know, she enjoyed the moment, because she let off one hell of a throw, and she won it. And you could see the joy in her face, and you could hear it in everybody else in the whole crowd, that it was, you know, an incredible moment.
And now hold your breath for Fatima Whitbread. 69 metres and 14 to beat. Oh, she's done it on the last throw. Oh, the disappointment for Fatima. And Lielak's won the gold. The last throw of the competition. 70 metres plus. She was always a threat. Fatima knew that, and that's why she looked away. How unlucky can you get? The world record holder in her hometown has won the world title with the very last throw.
Your final choice, and this probably says something about your character, because you've been telling us all the way through how what is it for you that makes things great and makes other things less than great. But the 100 meters in the World Championships in Rome, Ben Johnson's run, and you've said that's one of your all-time great performances.
Well, you know, it's really funny. It's one of those performances where, you know, you see it and then you look over at the clock and you think, no, he didn't really go that fast. But it was just the most incredible thing. And also, it's one of those performances, I watched it on TV back in the village in Rome. But it's one of those performances where I'm going to tell everybody I was actually in the stadium. Oh, yeah, of course I was there. Yeah, I saw it. But no, it was just incredible. I mean, to watching it on the telly, the whole stadium was hushed. It was full up. There was, 80, 90,000 people, God knows how many. And you could hear a pin drop in there. And also, in the room where I was sitting watching it, there was maybe 30 or 40 Canadians and a few Americans and stuff. And you could hear a pin drop in there too. And even when they'd finished, you could still hear nothing. And then everybody just started screaming. It was just an incredible 9 and a bit seconds. Just the tension and to see, fastest start and, it's unbelievable. So I still can't believe it. I still cannot believe it.
What, did he run that fast?
Yeah, because it was a yard faster than any man had ever gone before. And it was magic. It really was. It was just, wish I could have done it. That's what I wish. I wish I could have done it.
The final of the World Championship 100 metres. Ben Johnson, currently the world #1 in red. Carl Lewis, the world champion in blue. Away they go. Johnson's got a beauty. Elizabeth Christie went well. McRae going well. But Johnson's away and clear. It's Johnson, Lewis and Christie. And Johnson storms on to win. In second place was Lewis. Stewart in third place. And Christie in fourth place. And the world record smashed out of sight. Absolutely gone.
But if you take that performance, Daly, with the pleasure it obviously gave you, to have that thing in your cassette with your favourite 6 performances of all time, and we actually are going into some of the great performances that either of us have ever witnessed in our few years in the sport, how can you have Ben Johnson in there with what's happened since?
Well, obviously, what's happened to him in Seoul and stuff, does colour everything, because obviously you think and you say, well, was he on drugs before and all that kind of stuff. But he never got caught there. So we can't say that he was, and I did enjoy the performance, And he ran faster in Seoul, but I didn't get the same pleasure. Funny thing, even like in between when he ran and when he was caught, I didn't have the same pleasure because it didn't feel the same to me.
You're talking about continuing yourself for another 4 years, so maybe this question's pointless. But which of your performances, if this was some other athlete's tape, which of your performances would you like them to include? Which was your best performance?
I don't think I've done it yet. I'll be honest, I don't think I've done it. It's because obviously to do a decathlon, the best decathlon is one where you get, 4 or 5 personal bests and 3 or 4 really close. And so, it's a great all-round performance. I haven't really had one of those yet. I've had some very good competitive performances and, a couple of okay performances, but I haven't really done a great decathlon yet. I'm still waiting for it.
You and I have lived through an era, Daly, where British athletics has been enjoying a boom, and I mean great performances. And then, for example, you chose a 1500-meter race in the 72 games for your own reasons, and didn't include any of Coe's races or Vet's races or Cram's races. Was there a reason for that? Or?
Well, I think a few reasons. I think one is that they're all very recent, and we've seen them a lot of times. So that obviously tends to make them seem not quite so good as they were. Secondly, if this had been my favourite 12, my best dozen, a couple of
That
them...
might be the next one.
Yeah, a couple of them, you know, may have sneaked in. But also, I just think that Coe and Ovett, they never really raced enough to give us, you know, all the good qualities that they both possess. I think they could have had some better races if they'd been racing more often.
What, gone faster, or?
I think so. I think so, because like Cram and Awita, they tend to bring the best out of each other, and I think that those two could have as well.
And has this been a golden era of British athletics that's not going to be repeated again? I mean, do we take people like you for granted?
Oh, very much so. Overworked, underpaid folks. No, I must be honest, Brent. There are a lot of people in the athletics administration that think that this is going to carry on. They don't seem to realise that people such as Coe and Ovett and Cram, those people are born. They're not made. I really don't think that that they're doing enough to cope with the groundswell of kids that are coming in and push them all in the right direction. Because as I say, they all believe that, you know, we'll get another Coe, and we won't. What we'll do is we'll get some good guys that are, you know, world's top 10 or top 20s, but to get the best couple in the world is just, you know.
But is there not a new golden era with Linford Christie and Colin Jackson?
But again, all those guys we're talking about, they haven't won anything yet. And the people that we were talking about, Coe and Ovett and Cram, they've won everything. You know, I mean, there was never any races those three were ever in when they weren't the favourites. And yet, if Linford Christie and Ben Johnson and all them were all down there, you wouldn't necessarily think that Linford was going to win. We've dominated European athletics for the last 10 years. We've done better than we've ever done at the last 3 Olympics than we've ever done. And so to expect it to continue to happen isn't really fair on all the people coming up, because they may not be able to carry the torch, as it were. And, you know, people really shouldn't expect them to. I mean, we've got some great guys, and they may well become the best in the world. But I don't think anybody other than the other guys we've already been talking about have yet showed that they can be the best in the world. I mean, we've got the best in Europe, but Europe's a small place.
Daly Thompson, not only a great performer, but a great enthusiast for his sport.